Hey y'all, welcome to Kamira's Kitchen. Today I am going to be showing you some delicious breakfast and also brunch recipes. I am doing some fried catfish with greens and grits, a pineapple orange ginger juice, some bacon and potatoes. I'm going to do in the air fryer, and also a delicious veggie omelet. Now, of course, you don't have to do all these recipes in one meal, but I am going to give you some delicious options for your next breakfast or brunch. Now, the first thing we're going to start with is the greens for the grits, greens, and fried catfish. I'm going to be doing my greens in the Instant Pot. I'm going to saute some onions and olive oil with a little bit of Tony's for about 1 minute, just until it's a little bit translucent. And then I'm going to go in with some garlic and some salt-free Cajun seasoning and a little bit of chicken bouillon. I'm then going to saute this mixture for about 30 seconds and then put in 1 cup of water. I don't like a lot of broth in my greens, so if you want more broth, you can use 2 cups. I'm then going to put in a ham hock. But if you don't eat pork, feel free to go with smoked turkey. That will taste wonderful. I'm going to pressure cook this for 40 minutes just to get it, a little bit tender. The ham hock. Okay, the ham hock tough now, okay? And then I'm going to take it out, and before I take it out, I'm then going to put in my greens. So for my greens, I'm going to be using kale that has already been cleaned and cut in the bag. Okay, I'm going to let them do the work today. 1 whole pound. You could use collard greens, but if you use collard greens, I would then pressure cook for at least 10 minutes. I think kale pressure cooks a little bit faster. So I'm going to pressure cook the kale for 4 minutes. I know this looks like a lot, but y'all know greens will reduce down to none, especially in a pressure cooker. Then I am going to mix around my greens a little bit, take out my ham hock, and I'm going to just cut it up on the side. Now at this point, your ham hock will be tender, but it won't necessarily be falling off of the bone. So I will have to cut it up with a knife. If you really want your ham hock to be totally falling off the bone, then you're going to have to add more water, and then I would pressure cook your ham hock at first for at least 1 hour. Of course, you could also do this on the stove, but baby, if you ain't got no pressure cooker, what you doing? Okay, what are you doing? These things save so much time. I'm going to put back in my ham, and then I'm going to season with a little more Tony's and a little more chicken bouillon just to my taste. You could also add some crushed red pepper flakes, but I didn't have that today. And yum, this could be a side dish, but I'm telling y'all, if you have not had grits and greens, okay, you gonna like it. Amen. So these are my greens. I'm next going to start making the grits. So into a pot, I'm going to add 3.5 cups of water and 1/2 cup of whole milk. And I'm going to also put in 1.5 teaspoons of better than bouillon. I'm going to let this come up to heat until it is just about to boil. Okay, just about to boil. And then that is when I'm going to put in my 1 cup of grits. I think it is better to actually put the grits in at that point as opposed to when it's fully bubbling, because I think it's a little bit easier to make sure there's no lumps. I don't have to work as hard. Of course, I'm going to add salt and pepper just to my own taste, and then I'll whisk it around. And as you will see, there's going to be no lumps in these grits by doing it with this technique. If you try this tip, let me know. Okay, now we all know they say that they're 5-minute grits. We don't do that. Okay, I cook them for about a good 12 minutes. Okay, on medium heat. Then I'm going to go in with about 1/2 cup of heavy cream. I'm also going to add in some Gouda cheese, but that's my preference. You don't have to do that. But I do think the cream is necessary. And I'm also going to swirl in a tablespoon of salted butter. And I'll put in a pinch of chicken bouillon, and I'll just adjust it to my taste. I would leave this on low on a back eye while you prep your catfish, okay? Now, if you've been enjoying this video so far, please go ahead and give me the thumbs up, okay? And let me know how you're enjoying these recipes. Now, let me know in the comments, do you do sweet grits or savory grits? Like, I'm team 100% savory grits. My grandma used to put sugar on my grits. And I was like, Grandma, what you doing? Okay, let me know in the comments, baby. Now, I have 5 catfish fillets. You could also use whiting or any other type of white fish that you like for this recipe, okay? I'm going to season this with a little bit of Old Bay. I'm just doing this lightly and to my taste, all right? Then I'm going to go in with my favorite lemon pepper. This is a salt-free lemon pepper. I will use this generously. Okay, ain't got no salt in it, but it got tons of flavor. I just love this. Then I'm going to season generously with some salt-free Cajun seasoning. This already has garlic powder, onion powder, pepper, herbs, all of that stuff in it. I have a recipe on my channel for where I make this. It is salt-free, okay? That's why I'm using a ton of it with smoked paprika. I'm then going to be using a little bit of Tony's. I will use this lightly. Of course, you know this has salt in it, so I'm going to use this similar to the way you might use salt. I'm also going to put 1 tablespoon of mustard. You will not taste the mustard. To those of you that don't like mustard, it just adds a nice flavor. And then I am going to coat the fish with buttermilk. Notice I didn't say I want the fish to swim in buttermilk, okay? You just need enough buttermilk to coat the fish lightly so that the breading can stay attached. All of y'all who be putting in the cow, calm down. Okay, calm down. Do you see that? K won't barely nothing. I probably didn't use no more than 1/4 of a cup of buttermilk. All right, your fish should look like this. Okay. Next, I'm going to make the fish fry, but you could also buy a fish fry. All right, I have putting in 1 cup of cornmeal, about 1/4 of a cup of flour, and then I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to make the coating extra crispy. And then I'm going to use just some of the same seasonings that I put on the fish. I'm going to go ahead and put them inside of the fish fry mixture. If you really like this fish fry mixture, I would just double this recipe, take half of it out and save. Of course, do that before you put the fish in. And then next time you fry fish or you want to put a coating on something, you will already have that prepared and you don't have to make it again. Next, I'm going to bread my fish. I'm going to take my catfish and then I'm going to go ahead and put it in my breading mixture. I like to pile on the breading and press it down to get it to stick. Now, of course, you don't want a bunch of excess, but you also want to make sure that your fish has that good coating on it. So press it in really well. And then when you're done, you lift it up and you just shake off anything that is the excess. Now, when you start to bread your second, third, and fourth fish fillets, you're going to end up having like some of the coating that's on your fingers. That's actually a good thing. So take your fingers and just rub them together and just knock off those pieces and press them on to the fish fillets. When those attach to your fish, they're actually going to become pieces that are going to be extra crunchy. The same thing happens when you do it with chicken. Try it out. Let me know. I know you guys are going to love it, but those pieces are delicious. Okay. In my oil, I'm going to go ahead and put my fish and I'm going to lay them down going away from me. That's how you prevent the grease from popping on you. Lay them down gently. I'm going to let them fry for about 3 minutes, on medium-high heat in the hot oil until they are nice and golden brown. Y'all, if y'all could smell this, baby, it smells so good. When the time is up, I'm then going to go ahead and flip my fish and no, it is not burnt. That just happens when you cook it in a cast iron skillet. Of course, if you use a deep fryer, you're not going to have that little bit of darkness on your fish. I cook it for about 3 more minutes on the next side and look at these golden brown delicious pieces of catfish. I fry all my fish this way and I put them on the side on a rack on top of a baking sheet. Okay, you don't want to put them on paper towel or else they're going to get soggy. And then I make my dish. I have my grits, I got my greens, I put a little bit of the broth from the vegetables and it is delicious. Next, we're going to make these air fryer bacon potatoes. Now for starters, I have 6 potatoes that I'm going to be using and I'm actually going to put all of them in the air fryer at one time, y'all. Okay, I know we're not supposed to overload the air fryer, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. Now I'm going to be cutting these pieces into chunks that are even size. You don't want to cut them too big. I feel like it takes it way too long to cook. So if you do something about this size, you should be good to go, family. Now to season the potatoes. Okay, I'm going to go in with some olive oil. Not too much because we're actually going to be using some the bacon fat on the potatoes. But you do need to have enough so that the seasoning will stick. My favorite thing to use on potatoes is some dry ranch mix, and I'm using about 2 healthy teaspoons of that, as well as some of the garlic pepper seasoning, some of my salt-free Cajun seasoning, some Kinder's Buttery Steakhouse seasoning, and of course, you guys know that I do indeed love me some Tony's, right? So I'm going to use this in the Buttery Steakhouse seasoning just as if it were salt. So no additional salt will be added. You can't have potatoes unless you do a little bit of rosemary, in my opinion, because this herb just balances out the flavor and makes it super delicious. Toss your potatoes very well. And I actually needed to go in and spray a little bit more oil because there was so much seasoning on here. I really needed to get it to stick. If you don't add enough oil, the seasoning will actually fall off in the air fryer and it's just going to burn, and you don't want that. Now, my air fryer has not been preheated, and I'm just going to toss in all of these potatoes, okay? Now, I'm going to teach y'all something new. All right, I bet you ain't seen this before. I'm going to take the bacon. Now, this is 3 strips of bacon that have been cut in half. You can really use as much bacon as you like. I've even done this with 6 strips of bacon, to be honest with you. I'm going to layer them on top of the potatoes. This way, you can ensure the bacon doesn't overcook. It's going to get extra crispy, and it's also going to naturally baste the potatoes with the bacon grease as it cooks. I'm going to put this in the air fryer now at 350 for about 10 minutes, okay? After 10 minutes, I check on my bacon. I'm going to turn it to ensure that both of the sides get done well. I like doing it this way instead of just doing the little bacon bits, because sometimes the bacon will finish earlier than the potatoes and I don't want to burn it, right? So flip it over to make sure it cooks well, and then I'm going to put it back in the air fryer for just about 2 more minutes. At that point, the bacon should be done. If you want more, if you want it to be crispier and cook more time, feel free, honey. It's your potatoes, right? So do what you like. Take your bacon out, give your potatoes a shake, and then I am going to drain that bacon grease. All right, you know we love some bacon grease. Okay, we ain't gonna throw this away. Oh, no, honey. We're gonna take this to the side, and we're actually going to baste the potatoes in this bacon grease. By doing this, you're going to ensure that your potatoes become crispier, and they're going to be much more flavorful than just using olive oil. Turn your heat up to 400 and cook for about 10 more minutes. My potatoes are mostly done at this point, so I'm going to go in with some fresh garlic. I didn't put it in at the beginning because if you do that, I think it's going to burn. So put that garlic in now. Toss it around really well. It should stick to your potatoes just fine. Put it back in the air fryer for about 7 more minutes. I'm going to use some cheese, just some grated Parmesan cheese for extra flavor, but really this is optional. And then I'm going to go in with the bacon. I like to warm this up just for about 1 minute, but that's really totally up to you. Now y'all know we're going to have to add a little bit of parsley for the cuteness, right? And then they are all done. But of course, you could also do this in an oven and it would come out well. We're then going to start making this delicious pineapple, ginger, and orange juice. I also added a little bit of turmeric for the health benefits. Fresh juice in brunch is a must for me. Now, for starters, I have here 8 oranges. I have 2 very ripe pineapples. You see how yellow they are? I have 1 fresh lemon. This is about 6 ounces of fresh ginger. I also have a teaspoon of turmeric, and this is dried turmeric, and a pinch of pepper. They say pepper activate turmeric. I don't know, but we gonna do it just in case. Now, notice I'm actually using juicing oranges. These are not your typical oranges, and there is a difference. Valencia oranges, or juicing oranges as you see them called, have a higher juice content than your typical orange like you would see here. This is a car orange, and you can know the difference because this one is going to have that navel at the bottom. If you see that, that is not what you want to get. Now, if this is the only option in the store, then that's fine, but you are going to get significantly more and a sweeter juice from these. First thing we have to do is that we must wash these pineapples. I'm actually going to be using the skin to make a simple syrup, so you do need to scrub it very well. And if I had a fruit brush, I would be using that. Of course, I'm going to remove the tops and just make sure, you know, any pesticides or any residue left is gone. I'm going to scrub this ginger down, and there's a lot of dirt in between those nubs of ginger, especially the big ones. So I just crack a few off and scrub it well as good as you can. Now, these oranges, I know we're going to peel them, but y'all know, little stuff be getting on. I don't want nothing in my juice, so I'm just going to wash everything, okay? Now, for starters, I'm going to work on this pineapple, and I'm going to save the skins at the side. And I'm just cutting this very easily. I don't need to get all the eyes out. That's not going to be necessary. And then you take your pineapple and you give it a fine dice. Now, there is a woody part in the middle of the pineapple, and because we're juicing it, it is okay to keep. You don't need to cut it out or discard it. Now, guys, of course, I snuck a little snack, all right, while I was cutting. And if you think that I'm doing a great job so far and this video is giving you value, please go ahead and click that subscribe button because I post videos every week. This is all my cut up pineapple from both of them, and this is all the skins that I am going to save, all right? But I'm going to discard that little spot that had, a little bit of mold or something, and I'm going to put some water on the stove. Now, this water is starting to boil, and I'm going to put in my skins, and I'm going to use some honey to make this simple syrup. I'm going to use about 3/4 of a cup, but you could also use a cup of sugar. I think the honey is a little bit healthier, but we all know this is straight up sugar, okay? Let's not lie to ourselves, okay? Now, I'm going to cover it until it hits a boil, and then I'm going to leave it ajar so that the water can reduce and make this simple syrup. Now, while that is going on, I'm going to peel these oranges. Now, you're going to find that juicing oranges have a very thin skin. And if you want to suffer and you want to get all that, orange oil under your nails, you can attempt to peel it. But we ain't going to do that, okay? Because I don't have the time. Amen. So I'm just going to cut it in half, and I'm going to just peel off the skins on the outside as well as that white pith. And you do need to get off that white part because that part is bitter. And if you blend that into your juice, at least too much of it, it will make your juice kind of bitter. You don't have to get out all of the seeds because they will just be grinded down and it's really no big deal. But those we're just going to discard, and I'm going to chop up all my oranges like this. Now for our ginger, okay? Now you don't have to peel your ginger, but as I said, sometimes I just feel like ginger is a little bit dirty. So I like to go in with a spoon and just rub it on some of the large parts of the ginger. I know we washed it, but I just like to be careful because you got to care about what you are putting in your body, right? So I just get off some of the really dry spots and just some of the big spots with this spoon, and you'll find that ginger will peel pretty easily. However, there will be a little bit of it left, and you know what? That is no big deal because that will all come out when we filter our juice. Now, it is important to chop your ginger up relatively small. Now, I know that we're going to blend this, but y'all better help that blend out, okay? Because y'all know some of these blenders, they, you put them through too much stress, and they conk out on you in a second, okay? Y'all know some of y'all done had a blender break down on you more than once, all right? So go ahead and just give it a little, little dice. And we're going to place it to the side. Now look at all our freshly prepped fruits. We have this juicy sweet pineapple. We have all our oranges. And we have all of this delicious ginger. And of course, we also already have the turmeric and pepper to the side. Now this is my simple syrup. I took the lid off completely. And I'm allowing this to reduce until it is about half. And by the time I was finished with the fruits, because I had the stove on high, it was ready. So I'm going to strain this. You're going to see that it's going to take on a beautiful caramel color. It's going to have a light fruity flavor. It's going to be sweet, but not overwhelmingly sweet. Some of the sweetness is just coming from that pineapple. I'm going to put these peels aside. Now technically you could blend these up and get juice from that, but sometimes we just ain't in the mood to do that, okay? So I'm just gonna put these in the compost bin and I'm gonna snack on a couple of them. And when I'm using a syrup in this video, this is what I'm using. You use this to your preferred taste, okay? So I have my blender, and remember, we don't have a juicer, so you do need to use a blender. And I'm just going to put in some of the pineapple and some of the ginger and a little less than half of a cup of this syrup. I'm going to cut my blender on, and I'm going to allow it to blend down very well. Now, I'm not going to waste this blending session, okay, because as you can see, this blender ain't full, honey. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to add a little bit more. All right, and then I'm going to blend that again. Once it is ready, I'm going to show you 2 different ways you can try to strain this juice. Now, one way you can try to strain this juice is to simply put on a fine mesh strainer and gently with a spatula work the juice through the mesh strainer. This option for making juice without a juicer is a little bit more time consuming, but it will work. As you can see at the bottom of my blue pitcher, I did get some juice, but now I'm going to show you my next strategy. I am blending another batch of fruits, and I'm adding the turmeric and the pepper, and the turmeric is going to stain the juice a little bit, but that's not a problem because, as you know, turmeric is super anti-inflammatory. It's very healthy for you if you have achy joints. And this is the second way that you can blend. This is like a cheesecloth. I got this from Walmart. Okay, they were sold as like fabric towels. They're like kitchen towels, and put it down in a single layer. You can pour in your juice. And this method, I think, is the best if you can get you one, okay, because you can simply squeeze out all that golden goodness. All right, look, you can, at first it'll start out a little slow, but put a little pressure on it and you'll see that river of juice start to come down, and it's it does a fairly good job of straining the juice. Now, one way to help encourage it to get out is to sort of work it with your fingers, okay? That massaging will begin to push the juice down, and it will push the pulp to the side. Now, this did stain this kitchen towel, so make sure that these are used just for kitchen purposes, all right? And you can take out that pulp, and then you can put in your next batch, and you can do the same thing. You just put it in, grab it up at the top, and then gently push down all the juice. And I did this same strategy, blending the fruit and then straining the juice until I had did all my fruits. Now, I cut my lemon in half, and I'm going to squeeze that lemon juice into the juice and just catch the seeds with my fingers. I think the lemon juice just gives it a little extra brightness. And at this point, you want to taste it for sweetness. I felt like it needed about a half a cup more of this simple syrup. And so I mixed that in, and I actually just reserved that simple syrup to the side. I'll use that to make a pineapple lemonade. Now, guys, while this juice is chilling in the fridge, you can go ahead and make a delicious veggie omelet. Now, I know it's not the cutest, okay, but it was delicious, all right? So I am going to heat up my nonstick skillet with some butter, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to saute the vegetables. I have 8 ounces of chopped up brown mushrooms. I've also have a little bit of onion and some peppers. You can use whatever veggies you have in your fridge. I'm going to saute these on medium heat until they start getting brown and release their water. I'm going to do this without salt. Salt on mushrooms before they have started to cook can make them a little bit tough. So I'm going to hold off on adding anything that has salt into it for at least the first about 4 minutes. Now, once it starts getting brown like this, I'm then going to go in with some Tony's. I'm pretty much just going to use Tony's for the seasonings for these vegetables. I'm putting in an omelet. Look, we ain't got to bust out a bunch of spices. Keep it simple, baby. All right. Then I'm going to add in a whole bag of spinach. I'm putting in 10 ounces of spinach because y'all know spinach will cook down to nothing. Okay, it will cook down to nothing. And it's super good for you. So I'm going to allow this to wilt. Now, I'm making enough veggies for multiple omelets. I also tend to put some to the side and just use this as a side dish for my lunch. So, of course, this is way more vegetables than what would be for one omelet. All right. Once they have cooked down to the way you like them, take them out of the pan, crack 3 eggs, add some salt and some pepper, and then we're just going to beat this really well until it's well combined. Y'all know what to do. Now, this is when I feel like, my omelet went a little sideways. Okay, so I added butter back to the pan. And then I put in my egg mixture. I don't know if my pan was too big for just 3 eggs. I do typically use a smaller egg pan, but I just could not find it. And so I had to use this. But when I cooked it for about, a minute or two till it started, getting bubbly. Then I put on my veggies. I decided not to use cheese, but you could definitely use cheese if you wanted to. But when I went to flip it, it just was too thin. It was not trying to cooperate with me. So I had to pull out a metal spatula. Yeah, I know this is non-stick, but it was okay. Okay, I didn't die. The pan didn't die. All right. And then I flipped it. And it just looked so sideways to me. Like, y'all, if y'all got tips for the perfect omelet, please let me know. Okay, I do want to know. But I did show this to y'all because I know this is the real. This would be happening in the kitchen. Okay. I let it cook for another minute or so on that side, and then I slid it out. And the thing about it is that it tasted delicious. Okay, it was fabulous, right? It just looked a little crazy. Okay, so let me know any of your tips in the comments. But that's our delicious omelet. This is our fried catfish. We have our potatoes and our juice. I hope you guys love these breakfast ideas. I surely enjoyed making this video for you guys. I hope you know that I love you and Jesus loves you. And I know I'll see you next time in Kamira's Kitchen. Goodbye.